Hi there. So I just wanted to give a little bit of an update about where I'm at um, with my clamp design. I went through the iterations of testing the clamp mechanism, doing the proofing for that, and I came up with this. It's the fourth version. It's basically something like this. Snaps down. Okay, and it worked really well. The force on it was really good, or the holding force on the handrail was good, and the force to release it was very minimal. So you had a lot of good holding force, but it wasn't too hard to remove. So it was cool. So I was busy doing a couple things this week, and I thought I would, try out the full scale print today. So I got the printer fired up and started it and went out, did some skating, played some hockey a bit, cleaned off my rink, and came back and had a finished print. Here's one half of it. So basically, it's the same thing, just thicker, right? Okay, same deal. Here's the other half. Now, this technically is supposed to go in there, and then it closes. So it came out fine, and I was able to snap it onto the bar. It snaps on like really well. There's a lot of force because I guess obviously the arm is a little bit, the extrusion is a little bit thicker. It has a little bit less flex, but it's still clamped on really well and came off with, quite easily. And I added a little bit of grip to it too. A little bit of grip there, which came out in the print pretty nicely. You can feel it, a little bit of texture. So all was good. It clamped on really. I was testing it out. I had it in a vise on the handrail, my makeshift 3D printed handrail, and it wouldn't slide. It was hard to slide, but it still slid a little bit. But it clamped on really strongly. So that was good. But I started to play with it a bit and force it. I wanted to see how hard it was going to clamp onto. I was planning to weld together a little makeshift track because I wanted to load on some weights and do the the force testing that way. With weights, loading weights on to see what the breaking point was. But the thing is that I was just forcing with it a little bit with my hand, and boom, I felt it get loose, and then whoop, snapped, or it just kind of pried apart. And it kind of did what I thought would happen eventually, or it was an issue that I was wondering about. And basically, if you know anything about 3D printing, it's because in the Z direction, 3D print, okay, for those who don't know too much about 3D printing, you have your build plate, your model sits here like this, and the nozzle comes along and builds up layer by layer. Okay, so you can see all little layers. Okay, and you set the layer height and you go through all the settings and stuff. But each of those layers is bonded to each other, and it's bonded kind of like almost like if you were to take a glue stick and glue something on. So basically the bonds of those layers are kind of a weak point. They're not that strong. So when you have something that's printed, like the shaft, okay, so if you see the shaft here, the shaft has those layers built into it. So what happens is basically the shear force, when you have a shear force, there's a shear force pulling on this. When this clamps down, there's a force that's pulling it apart. So basically it sheared at those layers, and it didn't take a lot of force at all. I guess it wasn't as prevalent on the smaller model because just the way the bonding was probably a little bit better. I don't know. It just didn't really. I'm sure if I tried to pull on this, it would come apart. So I already have like a solution. I'm just going to print the pin horizontally. So it'll be printed in 2 parts, but it kind of ruins it a little bit because I wanted to have like an all-in-one print. I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, anyway, just if you're 3D printing, you're making a design, learn through me. Let me, no use going and spending all that time and trying to figure things out. Basically, keep that in mind. If you're making a pin or a hinge or anything like that, if it's printed and there's a force being placed on that hinge, if your pin is in the orientation where the layers are building up on the z-axis, like that, or basically if the layers are perpendicular to the pin, it ain't gonna work. It's just not gonna hold up. So what you want to do is you want to take that pin, and I just have a I have a motorcycle axle. I got motorcycle parts everywhere, but your pin like this, instead of printing it like this up, okay, you stick your pin on the ground, or you put it on the plate like this, and you build it up like that. Okay, so what happens is that when the pin goes through here, okay, obviously the pin's going to be smaller, but when your pin goes through, the layers are going to be going up this way. So there'll be a little bit of flex, but it won't completely break. It won't shear. So it's kind of hard to explain, but for people who have been 3D printing, they probably realize this already. So 6 minutes. I'll leave it at that, and I'll have an updated video later. Thanks.